Thanks, listeners. Today's program, Elko Live, is in advance of the regular Elko County Commission meeting, which opens, the Fire Commission meeting will begin at 1:15, followed by the regular county meeting at 1:30. We'll also have an Elko County Board of Health meeting. That's at 3 o'clock. And guess what? We have two county commissioners in studio today. We're so pleased. I'm going to have you scoot that microphone up a little bit. Delmo, Andreozzi, although you don't always,
Delmo.
I was going to say, you don't need a microphone. And John Karr side by side. We got so lucky because John was out hunting, not sure you were going to make it down from the mountain, but you made it. Thank you.
In one piece even. I didn't hobble in or nothing.
Yeah, so that was great
That's
news.
a bonus.
Yeah.
Yes. John was scheduled. We had, as our backup, we had Delmo, and then both gentlemen agreed, well, why don't we just do this together? So this is our benefit, our privilege. Thank you for both being here today. We appreciate it.
Well, hanging out with Delmo, and then you get both of our opinions, why I think we make a good team on the commission anyway. So
Absolutely. Yeah, our chair and vice chair, right?
Yep. I just appreciate the opportunity, and I think that like John was just saying, I mean, there's such a diversity of thought. I was telling John earlier, for me personally, I'm looking right now today, mired down in things that we're being faced with right away. And John's really good at looking down the road and having great ideas. And, so to have a blend of that, it really, I think, creates a dynamic and good commission, or an elected body for that matter.
And so featuring John Karr and Delmo Andreozzi, I'll just be honest, there's not a ton on today's agenda for the regular county meeting. Again, the health board meeting is always informative. People should take an interest in all of these presentations. It's just a quarterly meeting. You can be there in person or watch online, but certainly I'm going to let you gentlemen lead on what some of the issues are. But I know we've been talking a lot since the last time we met about, for example, the jail expansion. And I know that we see the price of that going up. And either John or Delmo, did you want to bring us up to date on what we know about the expansion of the Elko County Jail?
Well, it's funny you talk about that. Delmo and I and Amanda got copies printed of we have not nailed it down to where's every plug-in or anything like that. The details aren't that. But true prints and colored pencils, and let's start marking up what's necessary, what's not. This is a gentle pick on the school district. I was at the Performing Arts in a couple of their new buildings. Obviously very beautiful buildings, nice buildings, but there's some things that were extra that cost quite a bit, and I don't know if they're truly used that efficiently. I want to learn from those that, wait a minute, what really does the expansion need? What is its point? What's it serving? And if it's not really doing that, then why do we have it in the prints? But we're just starting that markup procedure now.
And then Delmo, maybe from you, because you are also thinking of day to day, it's not just building the expansion, but we're going to incur significant costs going forward. This is a behavioral health unit. This is a specialized unit of the jail, right? Yeah,
and you have these ongoing operational costs, and that's why you need to, with these things, it's always good to measure twice and cut once. That's just a good practice, and we want to right size it. We want to future proof it to some degree, but at the same time, we don't want to, overextend ourselves, because it's very, 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 not only just the initial capital expense, but the ongoing operational expense. If you're heating or lighting space that isn't utilized, that's not a very, very good idea. So it's really looking at it from a very comprehensive point of view. And I think there again, I can only speak for us. We try to do our best. We rely a lot on our staff to do that, but I think our board also is very engaged in that process, which I think we need to be, because we want to make sure that we are comfortable with what's being proposed and what's going forward. A classic example is that when we went down that whole path with the judicial center expansion, we literally cannot afford what's been presented. It just cannot be afforded. So, what are our options? Can we pare it down? What can we do? Again, this is, I've always felt like a public building needs to stand for a long time, right? So it needs to be constructed of good materials. Something that's downtown Elko needs to be it needs to fit. It needs to be aesthetically pleasing. It needs to be a nice building. But again, within reason, right? I think everything is within reason. So those are the things we got to look at. And to John's point, it's really looking at have to have, nice to have, and maybe that's not necessary. So I think if we look at it from that perspective, then we've done the best that we can with the knowledge that we have to make decisions to expend those capital dollars.
Talking with John Karr and Delmo Andreozzi, and I know we haven't kept day-to-day tabs on our capital fund, but $65 million, that was too much for a Justice Center, but that was a few years ago. The county has some money set aside, right, John? But the needs are growing as this jail expansion sort of stepped in front of the Justice Center, if you will, if that's fair to say.
No, that's fair to say. We still have some concerns at the courthouse that obviously haven't suddenly disappeared by any stretch. But going back to the jail, part of this expansion, I hope everybody understands, it's not necessarily, I don't even know the capacity of the jail. Let's for this conversation,
Couple hundred.
400, 200, whatever.
Right now
This is not going to make it so that it can handle 400. This is more a lot of the new drugs have caused such a problem they can't be 4 or 5, 10 people in a cell. They have to be isolated. So it's more of an expansion because of that. The fentanyl, how do you nicely say they're more mentally disturbed for a longer period, so they have to be isolated.
And that's what we talked about too. With the additional cost, you have to have 24-hour nursing, and that's coming along with this behavioral
that's
health.
Part of what we're going to look at. What's the efficient way to how to do this? What are we? Let's truly map it out. We all like to think architects are the professionals. They know everything they're doing. Well, we've also seen, and I picked on the school district earlier, but we made some mistakes at the Lamoille Fire Station as well. So we're hoping to think outside the box a little bit and go, yes, once again, exactly how Delmo said, what's nice, what's needed, and well, that's a nice gold feature, but do we have to have that?
Well, and I would let me just piggyback on that just for a minute. So we knew with the pay-as-you-go funds that we were receiving, we knew we were going to start generating some capital revenue, which we're grateful for because we never had access to those funds in the past, right?
Do you know how much is in there now?
I honestly can't tell you. Because it just goes on. But what I can tell you is that we haven't spent any of it. It's just going in there because we have these capital projects are so big. And I think, we went down that whole discussion of do we bond, do we not bond, short-term financing or what, and we've analyzed all that to see whether or not what makes sense. A 30-year bond for us, when we penciled that out, to me didn't make a whole lot of sense. Short-term financing does make sense to me. Again, to me, that's not a unanimous decision. We have others that feel like we need to do a pay-as-you-go kind of a format, and that's really, in a sense, what's happening. Is those dollars are accumulating until we either make a decision to do short-term financing or do as a pay-as-you-go. They're continuing to accumulate. But when we went through that process, we identified our top priorities, and those were the judicial center, whatever that ends up being, and we also identified the jail. So those really are our top two priorities. But there's lots of needs out there. I mean, think about yourself. You go inside any one of our facilities, and again, this goes back to not having access. Really all we had enough revenues for was operational stuff. We didn't have a lot of extra money coming in for capital needs. And when we took that, we secured those funds. We said this will be used in capital. It's not being used for any other purpose whatsoever. And so, we've got aged facilities. We have an old library, for example, that might need a roof or whatever. Look at the ambulance barn that we can't even fit all our ambulances in it, right? So this is all part of the strategy, and that's kind of why we re-looked at the infrastructure tax to try to share the love there, if you will, not just from fire, because I think we've made and I know John will absolutely concur, but we've made tremendous strides with the infrastructure that we have in place in regards to fire. And, we still, at the same time, we still have to think about sheriff's cars, ambulances, and facilities for those for that equipment.
Yeah, like you're saying, the day-to-day operations, and then the long-range planning. Now that you have some money, we're in this weird place, right, John? Because before we had no money, so the grandest plans meant nothing. Now that you have money, you kind of have to choose what the most important priorities are. I mean, we know the jail's expansion is happening. That's a necessity. But we also know that, as you said, the courthouse needs the Justice Center. But the county is also studying the secondary route to Spring Creek issue, right? The transportation and growth issue that's really important to the region.
We haven't gotten that report back, but yes, that is one of the things we're looking at. But we're also trying to communicate better with the city on the air cart that they've already put in and go, well, where exactly is that going? What can we do? Work together? That's actually something I hit up the chamber because they have the
Government
affairs. Thank you. And I went, why aren't we discussing a topic like that where the school has property over there still, the city involved? Why aren't we working with the landowners? Would that be to the south of what that road would be? Why aren't we all working together? Go, what would it take to finish that as a road and eliminate some of the traffic on downtown? It wouldn't do anything on the summit, but it would at least eliminate some of the downtown traffic.
We also understood, and I know, Delmo, you're involved in transportation issues. This study was your item that you put forward, which was approved, and we're waiting for the results. So the idea of studying the secondary route to Spring Creek, I heard it's being shopped around at the Sunrise Shopping Center, going through, connecting to Manzanita.
Again, we had a lot of discussions and some parameters. That's really what we're looking for from them, and we commissioned that study. It's almost a year ago now, so these things take time, but hopefully we can get it. But it really all boils back down to critical things. We want to right size it and make sure we're doing the right thing. And part of that is, what does the build out of Spring Creek Lamoille area look like? Or we don't want to build an 8-lane highway if we only need a 4-lane highway, as an example. What is our water capacity? What's the sewer? All of those things. What's the population look like? And so we know that a secondary access is going to be extremely expensive and may be out of our reach for now, but what are some alternative things that we can do in the meantime? So it's like improving that, advancing it, and it certainly you can see the impacts when we lose, say, like 12th Street, when you have the train derailment or an accident. What the impacts are with the traffic. So, is there another thing that we can do in the interim? Like, for example, Lower Lamoille Road goes all the way out to Secret Pass. Is that, it is an access. It probably could use some upgrading, and it's not convenient. But it is an access. Does that make sense? So I think we just need to look at that from a very comprehensive point of view, again, so we can make good, sound decisions.
And John, following up on, I think it's fair to say, before you even got on the commission, I think one of your goals, as has been mentioned, was, restructuring that fire. We didn't have a fire district before now, and now we have an actual fire district. You put people in place, we have buildings, we have equipment, we have a specific funding item for that. So is there a next big project? You've accomplished that, but you're not resting on your laurels. Do you see how it seems like we're stalled a little bit, right?
I don't know if we're stalled. That was just such a how about we call it a burning issue, since it's a fire?
No pun intended.
Exactly.
Yeah. You did.
But no, it was a
hire.
serious. Oh yeah.
Yeah, with Chief Peterson.
Chief Peterson has turned out even better than I expected. But he also had a couple of things fall into place. NV Energy grant, a couple of things. So no.
And the tax increment, the fund, yeah.
So no, that has turned out better than we all expected. So I don't know what our next project is, other
we're looking
than to
for
still
the next big thing from you guys sitting here.
The fires or the jail expansion, probably figure out something with the ambulance. We still do need something for the fire, the main building itself, since it's kind of a side building on the roads department
On
in that
South
area. 11th,
9th, somewhere around there. I can't remember the street, but yeah.
So finding a home and maybe work with the city on, well, where could we be a dual area so that they can have.
Because they're looking at a new fire station.
Exactly. So I don't know, maybe they only need 1 or 2 bays to house somebody and we can have a joint station. Would it work? I don't know, but those are part of the discussions that I know JJ and Matt have been having, and where we have been looking different properties around town.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I do think that the kind of the phase we've been into, we've been kind of looking at this long range planning. You know, I mean, that's kind of where our focus has been, whether it's the road or master plans or whatever the case may be. We've been, you know, we've really been working on those things because those are kinds of things that help us understand what our spending priorities ought to be. And so, you know, they take a little bit of time. You know, I was kind of hoping we'd see something on that, alternate route, or I was hoping we'd see something by now. You know, like I said, it's been a year, but we still don't have anything, you know. So sometimes we're at that process where we're just kind of waiting for information. But there's no shortage of what's going on. I mean, you look at our agenda. We have, I think, 3 public hearings on planning issues alone. You know,
subdivisions.
So that
big impacts.
it's still coming, and at the same time, we've got to figure out a way to manage the resources with what we have. You know, I think by and large, we're conservative and we're trying to do the right thing and try at the same time trying to provide the services that people have come to. I mean, I can hardly think of a bigger thing when you say we're stalled. I mean, within the last year, we assumed 20 miles of Spring Creek roadway. That's a pretty big thing. I mean, hadn't done that. I mean, that had been resisted for 50 years, you know, so it's still happening. Maybe it's not glamorous and it's not in the spotlight, but it's happening.
Thank you, Delmo, for reminding us of those important accomplishments, especially in between. Like you said, that does impact those Spring Creek residents a great deal. Who's keeping tabs on the arena project out at Kittredge Canyon? Because we keep looking for it to pop up on an agenda. I think there's some deadlines for the money, the plans.
I'm the liaison on that, and not a lot of progressed. As far as I know, there was supposed to be an agreement with BLM, and we're right in the middle of the government shutdown. So I think whatever was supposed to have happened, and I'm not now making an excuse on the federal government shutting down, but that was supposed to be happening within this time frame. So if we get the government open again, no, there should be a meeting again with Rusty, and I'll be at their board meeting to go, all right, so was something signed, finalized? Where are we at? I
thought that it was the city gave them the 40 acres, though? Or
I know, but it's still next to it. The BLM part with the school district part is also in the
They still
works.
have to. Because that's $15 million. They are accruing interest, so the more time that goes by, the more that private nonprofit benefits.
Well, when you say they are accruing interest, what do you mean?
Well, wasn't that decided at the county meeting that they got not only the $15 million, which is in their possession now, but they get to keep the interest?
It's in the same fund, so the interest is staying in that fund
with them.
Yeah,
well,
but
if this project doesn't happen, it all comes back.
Yeah, it will
suddenly
all come back.
Oh, even the interest would come back.
Yeah, they're not utilizing the interest. The interest is staying with the money.
Okay, you know? And that's important. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I would just say there again, you know, the commission. So I'm going to just reiterate this, and John's the liaison. I'm not going to talk about that, but I do know there's a presentation coming before the board. I was told the first meeting in November, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward for an update. But suffice it to say, when that $15 million we got, that was all part of the ending fund balance that we got from COVID. And it was one-time money. And the commission had made a decision to prioritize trying to invest that money. There's a million capital needs. There's no question about it. But trying to invest that money into a project that would have some return on it, right? So, we went down that pathway, and we have an agreement. I would say that there's off-ramp, safety rails, whatever word you want to use for that agreement, and it basically has an expectation of performance, and if they don't perform and meet the expectations, that money all comes back to the county.
Anything to add, John? Or
Obviously, listeners can't hear me shake my head of saying, yep, but pretty much what he said.
Right.
So no, Delmo helped craft that contract, and extremely wisely put in of no, if something happens, no, all of it comes back, and there are deadlines that are approaching, and so we should be getting that information shortly.
right.
And one other key component of that agreement is this is leveraging that $15 million with whatever private, I can't remember the number right off the top of my head, but let's just, for prosperity sake, let's just say it's another $15 million. If they don't raise all that money, they don't go forward. But it's leveraging those private dollars to build something for the community if it works out.
And again, it's not a criticism, but it's valid. This is at least a 6,000 seat arena, multiple uses. Certainly, livestock would be an emphasis, but as purported in the beginning, it could be an ice arena, so there could be hockey or there could be Disney on Ice. Certainly, concerts year round. It's an important facility to the local tourism economy. It is again, it's a private nonprofit. And the $15 million, as you said, is being leveraged to get other donations. So, but this November meeting, whether or not the government shutdown persists, will we have an update on?
I think so.
I think we should.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
Because
they're scheduled.
because we know that prices of things, the costs are going up so much.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the scope and scale, and I don't probably need to remind you, but we have Lamoille Grove happening. We have the City Animal Shelter. A private foundation is helping raise money for an expansion. The Senior Center, wanted to ask you guys if there's any wiggle room for helping them out with their $1 million so they could buy land. Has that been on your agenda yet? Or
I haven't seen anything from them. I
you
don't
know
if
about
have.
you're smiling? Okay.
I personally do not foresee they're pondering a whole new facility and all that, and I don't see the need for it myself, but I haven't been as actively involved in that because Travis has taken over that liaison position. But when I was there, it's such a small, narrow time that you would actually need something that big, and with the other needs of the community and how many fundraisers and how many other things are needed, I personally don't see that in the near future. That doesn't mean I'm cheerleading opposing it. I want to make that very clear. I just don't see that as a necessary need at the moment, but I easily could be incorrect.
I don't know how much the Lamoille Grove project is. Any of you?
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, like I said, basically
Replacing trees. Yes.
Yeah, I think basically
Can you come
the best.
closer?
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry. I think the best way that I can explain that is, that project really never came to the commission or anything like that. And Rex is connected to a lot of people out there in that area, and there was some folks that just.
But it is a county park, though.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
No, but I'm just kind of walking you through the process here. Just said, hey, there were people that were interested in helping because it's a tremendous asset. We've spent last year we spent $50,000 trimming trees out there, and obviously we've had this subsequent significant die off. So there have been people that want to get involved, and Rex kind of had some folks that reached out to him, and I said, hey, how can I help? So the idea is really trying to get the community behind this and reinvest in this awesome. Yes, it's a county asset. We have parks in Jarbidge, Tuscarora. We've got them everywhere, right? So. But they're there for the benefit of the community and to see if we can get that done. So, and that scope is changing a little bit. I mean, we're looking at primarily just looking at trying to do as much tree removal with our staff and NDF as safely possible, and then contracting out what I would call more high-risk trees that are maybe close to homes, but we don't want. We want to make sure that we've got the right people doing the right thing, but trying to reduce the cost, and then have some type of situation that replants those trees, and So Rex is this has kind of been his little thing that he's behind, and I'm helping him champion it. But it really hasn't necessarily come to the board. It's not necessarily a commission priority. It's something Rex is behind, and I'm not saying that it wouldn't come to the commission or can't come to I'm just saying that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. And then, John, I saved this one for you. The Elko High School Warrior Field improved. They just announced that at school board, and I would imagine, I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of community support for that, but that's also multi-million-dollar capital fundraising with private money, right?
Oh, I think that's a wonderful project. I'm not really involved in that, but
I forgot about right. Yes.
But no, I fully support what they're doing, and
but you can, I guess what I'm trying to say is that we have so many capital needs, and Delmo said it earlier too. We have a lot of needs right now.
Well, here, we'll just publicly say it, and I'll probably get bashed for that, but I don't see the expansion of the senior center because that facility, I think, is currently doing what it should be doing, and I think we have a very nice facility. In contrast, the track has been destroyed. Partially, the company put it in correctly, but then also during COVID, there were some very poor decisions of driving vehicles on it and destroyed it even further. But then on top of that, it's been designed wrong, so it's never drained properly to have a long-lasting lifespan anyway. So you throw all three of those on top of that. That is not really working, and it's not safe. We can't have state tournaments here, those kind of things at the moment. So that's, I think, a bigger priority, and I really want to see that one go through for lots of reasons. It's a benefit to the community. I think you'd be surprised how many people go down there just to walk it themselves, how many events are held on it. But it's also disappointing that we can't hold any state tournaments on track. We can for football, but the expansion also includes soccer, so it would be a regulation soccer field. So we could be holding state football, not only for our size schools, but Wells, Carlin, those kinds of size schools could also be coming here to hold state tournaments. And that's why I think it's a benefit to the city, the county, the school district, the whole community.
Right. And it is going to be a capital campaign with private foundation support because the school doesn't have the money for it, right, John? I mean, that's also important to acknowledge. The school district isn't in a position to do it.
They have some capital money, so this might get changed to more of a priority on the capital list, especially there's some wiggle room in the wording on the $25 million of the state legislature on rural match. Currently, it says native schools can have donations. Let's see, Komatsu, whoever, donated $400,000. Currently, it's not 100% definite that the state would match that on a capital project at the school.
Unless it were a native project?
But they would on a native project.
Okay.
They're currently looking at it as we speak at the state level.
Oh, okay.
My interpretation and some of the others that wrote the language that no, it means both, and whereas some parts in the state are saying no, it doesn't. So if that doesn't come to fruition, when we do this special session, we'll get it changed then.
But I would say that's a great part of that bill. You know, we've had that conversation about that particular bill. That rural grant program is a great part of the bill. So, and because you look at what it costs to build a school, it's a challenge in Elko County. But could you imagine Mineral County or a White Pine County? I mean, they just don't have the tax base to build a facility like that. So that is a great part of that bill that was passed, and that, you know, that might need a legislative fix, but I think that's a logical thing. So you guys are talking about this school capital item. This I had heard some mumblings about the track, but I didn't know that there was a whole other plan. So, you know, you've informed me today, so thank you.
Thank you. And Delmo and John, we have to send them to their meeting on time because the fire commissioners meeting starts at 1:15. So we're going to get you out of here on time. We really didn't discuss agenda items. This was an opportunity to have both of you in studio. And you're right, Delmo. I have not kept up on all the accomplishments of the county, as well as some things that maybe need a little urging because we haven't had our regular presence with the county again. So if we can step back up, you know, your appearances. I know that of the 5 commissioners, there are 3 of you who appear on the program regularly, and I appreciate that. So that makes a big difference in keeping the community informed and up to date on all these important issues.
Yeah, and they are, you know, like I said, you know, a lot of them don't get a lot of spotlight, or they're not for lack of a better term, they're not sexy or whatever, but they are just as important as.
You're not talking about the
anything.
commissioners. You're talking about the issues.
Well, yeah, the issues.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
That's important.
I'm
yes.
glad I'm not the one that said that.
Yes.
But you know what I mean. You
No,
know what I
but
mean?
it-
These things
They're not
that
hot
are-
topic items.
But it
these
is
things-
important. Yes.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of moving parts, and it's incredibly humbling and honoring to be a part of trying to do your very. I mean, I think we're all different. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, but I think everybody, for the most part, really tries to make a difference in their community, and I think that's what we need. We need people that want to make a difference in their communities.
Well, you certainly are, Delmo. You're now president of Nevada Association of Counties.
Yeah.
And so that'll mean some new opportunities for us here in the county, in the community.
Yeah,
So
I hope so. I've made some great connections throughout the entire state. We had the NACO annual conference. John and Amanda were there in Las Vegas, and it was Clark County. It was a great event. Wonderful speakers, lots of great topics, lots of opportunity to network with 16 other counties. Very good.
And John, I want to give you the last word too before we send you downtown. There are a couple of agenda items. You want to acknowledge our Senator Catherine Cortez Masto and the Bureau of Land Management.
If you look at, we'll talk about the BLM real quick. They get so hammered by Western Watersheds, by Great Basin Mine Watch, by the Wild Horse Advocacy, or whatever other names. These are attorney firms, and I want to make sure every single person understands that. They are not environmental firms. They're attorney firms that are suing to get money. That's all they are. They're extorting the BLM, extorting mines. That's all they do. They don't care about the environment. And if we're not speaking out against them, then they end up being extremely powerful, extorting companies, extorting the BLM, whatever. And so that's why I feel we need to acknowledge the BLM is trying to do the right thing with wild horses. Whether you like them or not, there's too many on there and they have to be managed. That's just facts. It's the same as deer, antelope, elk, whatever. They have to be managed. And these environmental firms don't allow that. They're there to sue and sue only. Out on Cortez Masto, I'm truly proud of her because she's bucking her party. I don't always agree with her. Sometimes she's extremely on the Democrat side, and I'm obviously a conservative Republican, but I'm extremely proud of her trying to keep the government open and let the government do its job while she's there as a senator fighting, or Democratic needs, Republican needs, whatever. She's a senator that's active. But in this case, she felt that the government should be open and this shouldn't be one of the legislative issues where they battle back and forth on whatever it is. So I think we need to acknowledge that a leader's a leader. And that's why I want her mentioned, because I think she's a leader.
So there is a letter to that effect. And do you think you're going to find support on the county commission, John?
Oh, I believe so. We're all proud of somebody that stands up for, even if we don't 100% agree with you, for your morals and to stand up for your beliefs. So all of us on the commission, I think, are pretty strong-willed, and we sure don't always agree with each other. But once again, proud of somebody that stands up and tries to do the right thing.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Delmo.
Thanks for having us, Lori. It's always great to be here with you.
It's great. We got to send you downtown so you're not late. Appreciate the time. You can both come back. You can come back individually anytime, but I know
This was kind of fun.
Told you he's got the better radio voice.
Seriously.
Maybe you and I should try to do a radio show. That'd be kind of fun.
That'd
We'll
be
kick
great.
Lori out next time.
No,
you can. You can.
We need someone to direct us.
We
'cause
had
we'd
Paula
be-
here. I mean, he's an old
we would-
celebrity.
We
That's
would be
true.
way off track.
I have no ego in this. I just want to make sure that the public, the community, everybody gets to hear, what the achievements are, what the challenges are for Elko County.
And that's the beautiful thing about this opportunity.
Maybe it's our retirement game.
Thank you.
Yeah, there
John
you go.
and Delmo show.
It's the Delmo John Show. John Delmo. Okay, we'll figure that out later. Thank you, gentlemen.
Bye.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us today. We appreciate your time.